Hi, I'm Oma Boyd, and I'm here at Barn Hills tonight to share a story with you from my book, Round This Mountain. This collection of stories happened quite by accident. I can't claim that they're stories that I thought up or made up characters. They're actually 3 stories told to me by an old mountain woman in the Blue Ridge Mountain. I ended up being her caretaker for about 5 years after she got dementia. And at this point in her life, she had more time to remember things, and as many patients of dementia do, she went back in time to her youth. And as she shared these stories with me, I just knew I had to write them down and pass them on to future generations, because a lot of the young people today don't realize the hardships that the generation before us went through. And today I would like to share one of her stories, which is especially touching. The book is broken up into seasons. It starts out with spring, summer, fall, and winter. And this is the first story that I have in the winter section, and it's called A Sign. "Did you see that?" the old woman asked in a hushed tone. "A bright light went down right over yonder. Used to see them a lot when I was a young'un. Bright lights would flicker through the darkness in this mountain. It was a clear winter night about like this when Mammy saw one. A bright light flickered along the ridge up there at Alfred Cole's. It dipped down and disappeared in the graveyard below Alfred's house. Mammy worried herself sick. She said, 'It's a bad sign. When you see a light in the graveyard, it means there's going to be a death in the family.' Sure enough, before the month was out, Victor and Alice's twin babies died. Uncle Ellis walked by on his way home and stopped in to warn. It was the coldest time that's ever been. Victor hollered at him and said, 'Come on in,' said, 'We've got twin babies here.' Honey, they lived in a one-room shack that had cracks in the walls big enough for a cat to squeeze through, and had one little hearth for heat. Alice's mind weren't right. She wouldn't let them put the babies in the bed with her. Leody, the midwife, tried it, but Alice shoved them out and said, 'Get them out from here. I ain't no brood sow.' Victor patted a box with some rags and put those babies in it, but he couldn't keep them warm. It was the middle of winter, and they froze to death during the night. Victor put a cloth on the top of the dresser and laid them babies out on it. Alice said, 'Put 'em like they're going, east to west.' Victor said, 'Just lay 'em out. Put 'em like they're going later.' Somebody went out to Oak Grove Church and rung the bell so people in the community would know there had been a death. There wasn't any funeral parlors in those days. Neighbors helped each other. Whenever people in the community heard the church bells ring, they set about to find out who had died, and the men folks would bring their mattocks and shovels and help dig the graves. George and Pap made 2 little coffins for them. George was a good carpenter, and Pap had all the tools. They made them out there in the top of the barn, sawed the lumber for the lids just as thin as they could, slicked them with a plane, and painted them white, snow white. Mammy walked up the mountain to Walt Castle's store and bought white satin material to line them with. I helped her hold the lining while she tacked it in place. She said, 'Now you hold it tight right there.' Said, 'Don't let it give. If you do, it'll pucker.' Mammy and Pap put the 2 little white coffins in the wagon and took them to Victor. They wouldn't let me go. Said, 'It's too cold for you to be out.' Mammy said Alberti Gwynn came with a bottle of homemade camphor and washed them little babies' hands and faces in it. That kept them from turning dark, kept the color just as good that way. She said they laid them little things in the coffins and put shiny coins on their eyes to keep them from popping open. They would do that sometimes. Eyes would pop open if there was jostled around in the wagon. The neighbor men dug the graves out there in the yard, in the fence corner, laid the little things in them. No markers were ever put up, and the fence rotted. It's all gone now. Lord have mercy, what a time people had. It still hurts me to think about it. Lights going through the night, said the old woman as she turned her back to the window. It's a bad sign.